Arato is your everyday loser obsessed with AI androids to the point he considers them human. His fantasies become reality when a smoking hot android crashed at his home and becomes his girlfriend. However, before any of this, Arato sits in class and starts dreaming about a strange girl's making, but then his friend snaps at him to wake up and focus on the homework, which makes Arato panic. Later in the day, the three of them walk home together, and during that time Kadai invites Arato and the geek to come watch the cherry blossoms with him, since he already asked some girls to join them too. While they are walking, Arato suddenly notices a young girl and an old granny trying to cross the street, so he decides to step in and help them, but his friend comments that they are not even human anyway. After Arato helps them cross safely, his friend again tells him that there is no reason to bother helping with a tool, because in the end androids are only made to be nothing more than tools for people to use. Arato's friend then explains that the girl working in front of them is androids, as well as she is just programmed to work exactly like a human. Later that night, a group is trying to either capture or wipe out the 5 android units that ran away, and every one of them is a female model built with special tools and weapons. The soldiers choose to use robotic guns, and those machines begin firing at the red-haired baddie, but she quickly destroys all of them without any trouble. Out of nowhere, the soldiers notice that their drones keep shutting down for reasons they cannot figure out, and right after that, the red-haired android turns her weapon toward the command center and shoots at it. The Memoframe company now gives a public message saying that the Lacia-class humanoid interface elements have reasons that nobody really knows, and they are able to make hard choices all by themselves even when there is no network to help them. The red-haired girl from before is shown to have the name Kuka, while the other two are known as Snowdrop and Saturnus. At the same time, Arato is sitting at dinner and gets into an argument with his sister, but after that, he heads out and stops by a grocery store to buy some things. When he comes out of the store, he bumps into Marie, who asks him if his father ever comes back home, but Arato explains that he does not. While talking, Arato thinks about how much he wishes he could have an android like Marie living with him, but then, cherry blossom-like petals begin falling from the sky, and Marie suddenly starts to act in an unusual way. All of a sudden, a speeding car tries to run Arato over, but he manages to dodge it, and Marie's face twists backward as the car hits both her and him again. Right after, the beheaded Marie still moves and tries to kill Arato, but then the car explodes in a fiery blast and a new girl shows up just in time to save him. This new girl is Lacia, and while Arato tries to tell her to escape since the place is dangerous, Lacia asks him instead if he is willing to become her owner. Arato agrees to her request and sets himself up as the registered owner of the Lacia-class human, showing that he accepts her. Right after that, the same car once again rushes toward them trying to run them down, but Lacia blocks it and explains that to unlock her device they need to shut down the power of the whole area, and she asks Arato if he is willing to allow that. When he agrees, Lacia uses her ability to cut off the electricity everywhere around them, and the car comes to a complete stop as well. After things calm down, Arato brings Lacia back with him to his house, and there she introduces herself to his sister as an android, while Arato asks his sister if Lacia can live with them. His sister accepts the idea, but she also asks a simple question and wonders if Lacia even knows how to cook food. Later, Lacia cooks some 5-star dishes for them and gives some tea to Arato, who keeps staring at her playgrounds. Arato asks her about her background, but Lacia asks if it's necessary for them to build a relationship as she is just a human tool with no soul. The next day, Lacia begins doing house chores while wearing a new outfit that was given to her by Arato's sister. At that moment, Arato's sister gets a message on her phone, and Arato reads it out loud, which says that Lacia has been chosen as the Grand Prix winner of the android modeling audition. Hearing this makes Arato upset, because he wonders how they could select her without even asking Lacia first, but Lacia calmly says that she has no problem with it at all. Later on, at school, Arato talks with his friends Kengo and Rio about the android he brought home. Rio points out that even a regular android costs as much money as buying a car, and then he asks how a high-class model like her could even enter and win a modeling audition. After this, Arato makes a video call to Lacia, and when Rio sees her on the screen, he admits that she looks like a top-end model, but when Lacia shows them her data, Rio is surprised and says that she has never had an owner before and there are no records of her being sold anywhere. Kengo tells Arato to make her send him her behavior management serial number, and when she does, he quickly checks it and finds that Memoframe Corporation is listed as the serial number, so he warns Arato not to get involved with it. Later, Arato goes home and realizes he left his tablet at school. He starts panicking because all his homework is on it and the school is about to close. Lacia suggests that he can still get in since the school has an android on staff, and Arato agrees and goes with her. At school, it is dark but Lacia can see clearly because her senses are different from humans, and soon Arato finds his tablet. Afterward, Lacia asks if they can hang out there for a while, and then they both go to the rooftop. Lacia then asks him how he plans to use her and Arato starts plotting his bed-breaking fantasies with her. The next day, Arato and Lacia go to a modeling agency where a girl named Asuna Kisaragi explains to Arato that Lacia is planned to be aimed at high school girls and young women in their early 20s. Arato then tells her that she should try to keep Lacia hidden, since he does not like the idea of people giving her too much attention. After hearing this, Asuna asks Arato if his father is really Professor Endo, making him feel uneasy. Later on, Lacia does a fashion model walk in front of everyone, and her style ends up surprising all the people around her. After that moment, Asuna takes both Arato and Lacia to Shibuya, where Lacia quickly starts getting even more attention from the big crowd, and there another android suddenly appears and comes to meet Lacia face to face. Asuna tells Arato that the girl's name is Angela, who is their last Grand Prix winner, and she also introduces another girl named Yuri, who is the top android model of the Fabion Media Group. A little later, Asuna gets a phone call, and during the talk she mentions that some guy tried to grab her by the shoulder. She explains to Arato that many humans still treat androids badly and show them no respect at all. That night, while Arato and Lacia are walking home together, they come across an ambulance, and someone nearby tells them that another android has just been destroyed. At the same time, a boy is busy watching the police and passing instructions to someone else, and this boy is named Kengo, but when he finishes dinner and returns to his room, he is shocked to find Kuka already standing there waiting for him. The next day, Lacia pours tea for Arato and says that ever since her work in Shibuya, it seems like he has been having certain thoughts about her. She then adds that for the next 5 minutes she will talk in a different way, and after that, she starts crawling toward Arato as if she is about to do something strange. She tells him to rest his head on her lap, and soon he drifts off. The next morning, Arato wakes up with wet pants and wonders where the others are, but then he hears the sound of an accident, and Yuka rushes in to tell him that Lacia was struck by a strange car and has been kidnapped. After this, Arato goes to the police to file a complaint, but they tell him to handle the matter with the insurance company and the dealer. Frustrated, Arato decides he will search for Lacia on his own and gathers all of his things, including his eyewear tablet. He calls his friends, and they tell him to check the manufacturer through her registration number, but Arato explains that Lacia is set to reject any command from the manufacturer. His friends suggest that he should not get too involved with her, but Arato says that Lacia feels like his family, so he must save her no matter what. Kengo quickly tries to track the signature code he got earlier, and he finds that the signal is moving from Kasai toward Urayasu. Arato then gets into a taxi that drives on its own and heads straight for the location, while telling his friends to call the police if something bad happens to him. His friend then asks where the large device that Lacia carried with her is, and Arato replies that it should be in his living room, but when he opens the security camera to check, he sees that it is no longer there. Hearing this, his friends say that Lacia might be a red box, which means she is one of the amazing machines created by a very advanced AI system. At the same time, the man who kidnapped Lacia is revealed to be the same person who was staring at her during the fashion show, and now he has become obsessed with her. Suddenly, he hears the sound of Arato's taxi arriving and tries to speed up, but the back gate of his van opens and Lacia falls out of it. When she wakes up, she sees Arato, but the man starts walking toward them with his weapon ready. Without wasting a moment, Arato runs at the man and attacks him, beating him down badly. After that, the man gets back up with his weapon and tells Lacia that if she wants Arato to stay alive, she must transfer her ownership to him. Lacia instead walks into the container, grabs a weapon, and tells Arato that she will kill the man, but Arato quickly tries to stop her. She asks him to give her the order to kill because if she does not end him now, he will only bring more trouble for them later. Suddenly, an attack is fired at them, and the one behind it is Kuka, who calls Lacia her sister. She rushes at Lacia, but Lacia dodges with her weapon, only to be thrown aside as Kuka then punches Arato. Right after, Lacia strikes back at Kuka and the two of them begin fighting each other fiercely. Kuka calls Arato a useless person, saying that androids only exist to carry out the will of their owners, but then Lacia steps in. She tells Arato that to fight Kuka, she needs her device to be unlocked, and Arato gives her the order to fight with him, which unlocks her device. Kuka then uses her power to launch a laser-like attack, but Lacia activates her special ability and shields both herself and Arato. After this, Kuka vanishes and returns to Kengo's room, telling him that she knows he used the antibody network system to help Lacia. She then threatens him and says that she will kill his family if he does not follow her orders. Later, Lacia cooks another round of tasty food, and Arato asks if she went shopping since he is still worried about what happened last time. At the same time, Kuka gathers a group of people, including Kengo, and explains to them that tomorrow the android chairman experiment will take place at the Industrial Promotion Center, and the android chairman will play a key role in leading the move toward government automation. That night, Kengo comes home very late again and his family grows even more worried about him. The next day, Kengo's sister meets Yuka and another girl who are her friends, and she tells them that her brother has always disliked androids. Later, while walking, she runs into Kengo again, and he quietly tells her that today is the last day. Meanwhile, Yuka and Lacia are also taking Arato somewhere important. On the other hand, Arato's friend Rio is working on enrolling into a university where he wants to study in the pseudo-human engineering program. Rio asks a professor about the Tokyo research facility he once worked in, and the professor explains that they created hardware able to physically move the servers by using mechanical legs. Meanwhile, Yuka, Arato, and Lacia arrive at Kengo's house, where his younger sister greets them at the door. Arato asks her to let them see Kengo's room, saying it will help them understand his situation better. Once inside, Lacia carefully looks through everything and quickly cracks the password onto his computer. She then tells Arato that the system Kengo is using is meant to track the location of androids and law enforcement by pulling data from many different sources. She also explains that it looks connected to the antibody network and that Kengo is already involved in criminal work. Arato then asks her to track his location, and Lacia answers that Kengo and the others are planning to attack an android experiment taking place at the Industrial Promotion Center in Oimachi. After hearing this, Arato and Lacia hurry off to save Kengo, but by then Kuka is already leading her group toward the building and tell them to head up to the 22nd floor and destroy the android being tested in the conference room. At the same time, Lacia explains to Arato that they must move through the building without being seen and hands him special equipment that will let him turn invisible. Meanwhile, Kuka's army is already inside the building, racing up to the 22nd floor, and Kuka calls her owner Kengo directly, telling him that if he does not want to die, he should shout out and she will save him. At the same time, a press conference is being held, and someone reports to the people there that an incident has broken out at the entrance, while on the other side Kuka's followers continue to fall one after another. Seeing this, Kengo calls for her help, and Kuka rushes in right away and wipes out everyone around them. After this, Arato and Lacia arrive too, and they both use their invisible suits to stay hidden as they sneak into the building. At the same time, Kengo and the others shoot down the security robots, and Kengo feels guilty. Meanwhile, Arato and Lacia choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator because of Lacia's black monolith device. While going up, Arato hears people talking about the experiment being held in the assembly room, and he realizes that Kengo and the others have not reached there yet. However, Lacia explains to him that if there are no guests around, the security androids are allowed to use stronger and more lethal weapons, though Kuka is already fighting on the side of Kengo's group. Lacia also explains to him that the assembly room where the experiment is being held is just above them, while the parliamentary seat is on the top floor, which is where the research team is located. After this, Arato and Lacia step into the assembly room, and when Arato sees the woman there, he realizes she is Makoto, the android politician that his father once helped create. A bald man named Shinguji, who is the head of security, speaks to Makoto and says that android chairmen are not a new idea, but they have never been put into practice, and he asks if she understands. Makoto replies that it is because an android chairman cannot properly deal with the sudden changes in public opinion during an emergency. After hearing this, Lacia asks Arato if he believes that a fully automated world would be a boring place, but Arato gives no reply. Suddenly, Kuka and her team hear a strange song playing, and then Makoto's assembly room begins to shake as the whole building starts breaking down. Out of nowhere, the same glowing petals that Arato once saw falling from the sky appear again, and these flowers seem to have the power to control machines. In the chaos, a news helicopter crashes into the building, forcing everyone inside to rush toward evacuation. Kuka, however, tells her team not to worry about defending themselves and instead focuses only on the attack. Afterward, they break into the assembly room, but Kengo doesn't see Makoto at first. Instead, he notices a mysterious girl scattering the strange flowers. He then finally spots Makoto and quickly points his gun at her, determined not to miss. He charges toward her, but before he can pull the trigger, Arato suddenly rushes in and pushes him aside. However, Kengo panics and tries to run away because he can't see where Arato is. Meanwhile, Kuka clashes with the girl who is throwing flowers. Arato then tells Lacia that he needs to take off his helmet, but she warns him that if he does, there's a risk they might be attacked by both Kuka and Snowdrop at the same time. Ignoring the danger, Arato removes his helmet and sees Kuka standing in front of Kengo, asking if he wants to become her owner. Before Kengo can answer, Arato yells for him not to be tricked by her, and then Kengo gathers his courage and refuses Kuka's offer. Afterward, Snowdrop blasts the room of the building, which hurts Mikoto, but Lacia saves Arato using her shield ability. Suddenly, someone kidnaps Kengo and jumps off the building, but Arato holds Kengo while the person falls. He manages to save Kengo, but Kuka kills Mikoto and flies away from the building. She is actually a tool made to assist in defeating humans, while Snowdrop is a tool entrusted with progress. Later that night, Arato and Lacia return home, and everyone enjoys some donuts together. But Arato can't stop thinking about the person who died in the helicopter crash caused by Snowdrop. He wonders if Snowdrop has an owner too, and what kind of person they might be. Suddenly, Yuka asks if their dad is involved in all this, since his creation Mikoto was destroyed. Yuka feels like their dad is ignoring them, but Arato explains that he is busy doing major experiments at the university town of Tsukuba. Meanwhile, some people are investigating the situation. They confirm that 4 Lacia-class androids, including Method, are still operating in good condition. But the old man freaks out, asking why the other 3 haven't returned if that's true. He gets angry at the Tokyo Research Facility for releasing the Lacia-class androids in the first place. Another man then suggests that the only way to track the missing ones is by using another Lacia-class android. Meanwhile, Shirori browses through some guy's data and then thinks about her brother, Ryo. He used to be better than her at everything, but after an incident, he changed and stopped putting effort into anything. The next day, Shirori meets up with her friends, who turn out to be Yuka and Kengo's little sister. Yuka complains about Arato, saying he has a big crush on Lacia and has been acting strangely lately. Suddenly, Yuka notices Arato nearby, and he's walking with Lacia right behind them, and the sight makes all of them feel jealous. Meanwhile, Shinohara takes Ryo with him and introduces him to a man named Watarai. When they meet, Watarai asks why Ryo thinks that he is Jinga Watarai, and he says there is a chance he might not even be a human but something else that only looks the same as one. Ryo tells him that it is against the law to make an android on purpose that looks like a real person, but Watarai answers back that it can still happen if an object is covered with human traits. Later that night, Ryo's sister is riding in a car with Mika, and Shirori feels upset because she just cannot go by herself to a place where people will only see her as a doll. Mika tells Shirori that if she does not like the marriage proposals, then she should just reject all of them without worry. Later at the party, many old men come forward one by one and keep trying to introduce their sons to Shirori, but when she goes to the washroom, she feels really sad and upset because it seems like she is only being put on display for others to see. All of a sudden, a girl with yellow hair named Method shows up in front of her, and Shirori notices that she is actually one of the androids that had gone missing before. After this, they both sit down together and Method explains that Watarai is her master and she is the one who made the explosion happen at the facility. Shirori wonders why Method came up to her, but Method explains that she is different because she can have more than one owner unlike other androids, and she even asks Shirori to become her new owner. Method also tells her that if Watarai tries to give her some order, Shirori could cancel it anytime she wanted. Even though Method insists, Shirori refuses her request, but before leaving, Method gives her something that can be used to contact her if she ever changes her mind. Meanwhile, a girl with white hair comes back and finds her house in a complete mess, so she goes to check what is happening, but when she opens the door she sees an android that is destroying all of her maids, and the android introduces herself as Saturnus while asking the girl if she will agree to become her owner. On the next day, Asuna takes both Arato and Lacia to meet the owner, who shows them a video and asks for their opinion about how it will look for the show tomorrow. But Arato does not feel excited at all and explains that the topic of a boy meeting a girl with a human and an android is something that will really test society in a deep way. Asuna, however, replies that this is exactly the part society is missing and that it is their great chance to push for change. Their real plan is to turn it into a huge project where they can sell Lacia-style products with the idea of being a partner to walk through life with, and the whole strategy is aimed at android owners who live alone by themselves. Asuna then explains that they want Arato and Lacia to be the very first models who will show everyone what this kind of lifestyle looks like in real life. At that moment, the same white-haired girl from the night before arrives again, and she introduces herself properly to Arato by saying that her name is Erica and she is the owner of the Fabion MG. Later at his house, Arato keeps staring at the card Erica gave him and wonders about it. Then he asks Lacia if she wants to go along with that boy meets girl proposal, but she gently tells him that the choice is his to make and not hers. After this, she shows him several products that the company handed over for her to use so she can take care of herself, but Arato gets embarrassed and shy and ends up asking her if androids even take baths like humans, and Lacia answers back that it is very important because she must refill water through her skin. She then asks Arato if he would like to take a bath with her, but he panics right away and says that they should wait until she turns 18 before doing anything like that. While they are both getting nervous and acting strange around each other, Yuka suddenly walks in and catches them looking weird, which makes the situation even more awkward. On the next day, Yuka talks about their strange behavior with her friends, and later when Shirori returns home, she keeps thinking about what she saw and starts missing her brother even more than before. As she sits alone, she remembers the things Method told her and imagines how she could also have power for herself, and with that thought in mind, she decides to reach out and contact Method. Afterward, Shirori takes the ownership of Method. Later, Lacia and Arato go back to the studio to begin filming and another blonde girl starts taunting Lacia. So, Asuna tells Arato that she is a model named Iase, but then, Method appears and she destroys all the equipment of the studio. Just as Asuna and Iase are about to be crushed, Rio arrives and saves them. Method then tries to fight Lacia and they both get severely damaged. Afterward, Method introduces herself to Arato, saying she is the finished product in Lacia class, and then, she leaves. Earlier, Method asks Shirori to give her some kind of order, and afterward she explains a few rules to Shirori, saying that she cannot follow any command that might lower the number of her owners, along with some other important rules that are meant to guide her. Method also explains that all of this is so she can slowly break free from Water Eye's control and at the same time protect the huge power that she carries. Back in the present time, inside the Memoframe office, the head mentions that it is difficult to believe the big explosion at the Tokyo research facility was really caused by someone from the outside, and then he turns to Mika and asks if she is carefully listening as an android inspector. On the following day at school, Erika suddenly transfers into Arato's school and even into his very own class, which leaves him feeling completely shocked. Arato's friends tell him that Erika was recently unfrozen and that the rest of her family had died during the hazard, so now she is almost like a person from the last century who has suddenly stepped into a completely different world. After this, Erika comes over to Arato, and later on they all sit down together to have lunch. While eating, Erika explains that she always wished she could live a normal life just like everyone else, but Rio gets up from his seat and refuses to eat with her, leaving the table cold. At the same time, Suzuhara sits down with Shirori and explains that the 5 androids were released outside for the purpose of recovering Higgins's backup data, and he also mentions that one of those androids happens to be Lacia, the very same one who is now with Arato. Suzuhara asks Shirori who gave her this information, and right then Method suddenly shows up in front of them. At the same time, Rio and Arato talk somewhere in private, and Rio tells him that when he was attacked, he never tried to escape, and because of that mistake he ended up putting everyone around him in danger. Rio becomes upset and angrily says that Arato is only being controlled and tricked by Lacia, and soon the two of them start arguing back and forth without stopping. Meanwhile, Erika spends time with a new android she discovered, and she gives her a complete makeover along with a new name, calling her Marriage. On the next day, Arato and Lacia sit together with Shirori at a coffee shop, where Shirori directly tells him to give up Lacia and explains that she is one of the android units that ran away from the Tokyo research facility. Lacia calmly answers that Memoframe cannot force her to accept an inspection since she is not their personal property, but Shirori then asks her what would happen if another android existed with the same registration as hers. She explains that a very wealthy Egyptian had once ordered an android at a hospital, where it was being used as a nursing android. Afterward, Arato and Lacia leave the place and Lacia says she always wanted him to be her owner. After this, Lacia explains to Arato that Shirori is working on getting Marina from Egypt, the same girl for whom the Egyptian had once ordered the doll, since that girl has already passed away. She also tells him that the android will be arriving at Chubu Airport at exactly 8:30 p.m., and Shirori plans to take Marina into her hands there. Later that day, Arato makes a call to Kengo and tries to convince him to join and support him in carrying out this plan. At the same time, Shirori and Method are also on their way to the airport, and Method tells her about Lacia's powers, explaining that shooting bullets at her is completely useless because they will never work. Shirori replies that she has no intention of fighting right away, since her first step will be to try and negotiate. On the other side, Kengo reaches out to Kuka for help, and after hearing him out, she agrees to join in and support him. Meanwhile, Arato explains to Lacia that they need to erase the registration number of the unit that is being sent from Egypt, and Lacia agrees with his plan. Right then, Arato gets a sudden call from Yuka, who tells him that their dad is appearing on television. On the news, Arato's dad announces that his goal is to build a world where humans and androids can live side by side together, and he says that this is the kind of future everyone should look forward to. At the same time, Arato and Lacia take a rental car that will carry them straight to the airport, while on the other side Mika receives a report that Lacia has already left for the airport in that rental car. After some time, Lacia and Arato arrive at the airport, where she prepares to switch the black monolith into electromagnetic mode so she can burn away the registration number that is carved into Marina. When she finally fires at Marina to erase the number, her shot ends up getting blocked before it can hit its target. Just then, Method shows up and immediately starts attacking them, but Arato quickly jumps into the car and drives it as fast as he can while Lacia keeps fighting on the roof of the moving vehicle. Method strikes again and smashes into the car, throwing them violently to the side of the road. At that moment, Shiori's guards come forward and try to fight against Arato, but Kuka suddenly arrives and protects him, stopping the guards before they can harm him. She then turns her attention to Method, charging straight at her and even throwing a grenade to push her back. After this, Mika calls Shiori and informs her that Marina is not inside the container they were all expecting. Right after, Method mocks Shiori by calling her useless and says that she only kept her around as a way to abandon Watarai. She then shocks her even more by showing her a copy of Shiori that is actually just another android. Method finally tries to kill the real Shiori, who is trapped inside a burning car that blasts, but Arato rushes in and saves her. Later on, they rush Shiori to the hospital, where Yuka gets angry at Arato and blames him for letting everything turn out this way. Afterward, Arato has to deal with all the consequences, including being suspended and having to pay for the damages to the car and the gate, which add up to a total of 4.5 million yen. Yuka yells at him again for causing such a mess and tells him that their dad is the one covering all of the costs for him. Just then, Arato gets a call from Ryo, who says that he wants to go with Arato to meet his dad and see what kind of experiments are really being done. After this, Arato and the two girls ride on the train to travel, and during the ride Arato remembers how Lacia not only repaired her own body using the materials she got but also managed to take care of Marina's registration number problem. Later, they arrive in the city but find it completely empty, since the whole place is being run by enough androids to make the town look fully alive without any real people around. After this, they meet up with Ryo and begin walking together toward the office where Arato's dad works. Along the way, Ryo explains that even though Mikoto's body is gone, her true form is still alive inside the behavior management cloud, where she keeps calculating answers every time she gets a request. When they finally reach the base, Arato's dad sends someone to guide them around because he is too busy preparing for a big experiment, and the man tells them to wait for a while inside his apartment. After some time passes, Arato's dad comes back and they all sit down to eat, though Ryo chooses to eat alone outside. What shocks them even more is that their dad does not get upset at all when he notices Lacia, and instead he calmly explains that AI and androids have actually made human lives far easier than before. Meanwhile, Ryo gets a phone call and quietly tells the person on the other side to only target Lacia and not to hurt anyone else around her. On the next day, Arato wakes up and goes out to look around the strange city, but he suddenly sees someone taking their own life and begins to wonder if such a thing is normal here. A man then shows up and explains to him that it really is normal in this place, and he starts talking about the androids, saying they are all moving according to the commands of a computer that is even stronger and smarter than the network itself. All of a sudden, they both see a huge explosion at Arato's father's apartment, and right after that the whole town begins to act with androids killing themselves and even turning on each other in madness. While Lacia and Yuka are both injured, Method shows up and begins fighting with Lacia, but before the battle can go further, a group of agents suddenly arrive and end up kidnapping Yuka. At the same time, Arato gets a phone call from Ryo, and he quickly explains that Yuka has been taken away and that Method is the one responsible for it, so Ryo tells him to meet at the entrance of the park. Later on at the park, both Ryo and Arato witness the androids fighting and beating each other violently until they begin moving like zombies. Ryo explains to him that what is happening is the destruction of each unit's native AI, but the chaos only grows worse as the androids keep attacking one another even harder. After this, the two of them run as fast as they can toward a nearby car and hide inside, and even though Arato is terrible at driving, he still gets behind the wheel and speeds away to escape. They drive toward the shopping mall to search for anything useful they can still find, and during the ride Ryo thinks about how Arato has changed, but Arato only cares about protecting what matters most to him. Ryo then warns him that the red box is simply fooling him in order to build a society that favors those machines, but instead of answering, Arato suddenly drives the car straight into the mall. Once inside, they notice a small kid crying alone because his mother has already died, leaving him behind. Arato quickly takes out his device and sends a message to everyone in his contacts, asking them to come and help, but when Rio sees this, he gets angry and shouts at him for wasting time over an android. At that moment, a fire starts spreading across the mall, and Method suddenly appears, but Arato grabs the kid in his arms and tries to escape as fast as he can, while Rio steps forward and tells him that he will hold off Method for a while. After this, Rio runs into a room where he notices Snowdrop's flowers spreading around, and he quickly tells the kid to run away before it becomes too dangerous. At the same time, Arato tries to destroy the server, but Watarai suddenly shows up and says that it is not his problem, that Snowdrop is the one causing all of this. All of a sudden, Arato spots Yuka there as well, and she is being held captive with no way to escape. Right then, Lacia also appears and explains that the PMC used a special grenade that forced her invisibility to turn off, leaving her exposed. Watarai then looks at Arato and tells him that Lacia is no longer able to protect her own owner or even his friends, and he calls that a good thing for them, before demanding that Arato hand Lacia back over to them. Watarai also reveals that Snowdrop has come here in order to reach Mikoto's system, and he tells Lacia that she should stop putting more weight on her owner and simply return to them instead. Lacia then asks him if she accepts his offer, would he release both Yuka and Arato, and the man agrees, so she begins to give in and accepts him as her new owner. But right then, Arato speaks up and confesses his love for her, and after hearing his words, Lacia smashes the device that lets someone register new owners, making it so she can never be claimed by anyone else again. After this, more people arrive to help Arato and Lacia, while at the same time the zombie-like androids also rush in. In the end, the server room is destroyed, and with that, everyone finally comes back to their senses. Afterward, Arato is taken in for questioning, and he tells the police everything that happened, but in the end he lets go quickly since his father has a lot of influence and power. Later, he returns home where Lacia is already cooking for them, trying to keep things normal, but Yuka is still upset with him and shows her frustration. She then tells both Arato and Lacia that they clearly love each other, and if she were to step in and tell them to break up, she would end up looking like the bad guy, making her feel like a third wheel stuck in the middle of their honeymoon-like relationship. Meanwhile, investigators continue to look into Arato, checking his connection to Watarai's death as well as the chaos that happened earlier at the airport. Meanwhile, Rio sits with Method and makes a call, telling someone to release all the data about Snowdrop, but also to make it clear that the other Lacia-class units had nothing to do with it. He adds that they need to pressure the police so the investigation won't touch the company. However, Method reminds him that Watarai had already testified that all 5 units were lost. At the same time, Erica visits her factory, where Marriage explains that in order to expand into a new independent information-gathering network, it will be necessary to mass-produce super micro-drones. Marriage then shows her a video that Watarai had sent. In it, Watarai reveals that he was actually Method's first owner and the one who originally set the Lacia-class units free. He also explains that it all began with Arato's father, who first inspired the AI known as Higgins, which later created Eliza to manage and control society. The bomb goes off in an attempt to kill Rio, but he survives and then explains about the making of Kuka and Snowdrop, and how from the new technology they worked on, they are able to create Saturnus, which is also called Marriage. In the end, their work finishes with Lacia being made as the one who will take the place of Eliza. Later that night, Rio goes to visit Shirori, but she is upset and feels let down by him. Earlier, when Arato leaves Rio alone with Method, she tells him that his job is to bring Arato to the management center's room. Rio then says that she is only unhappy with her owner Watarai, and he asks why she even made Shirori her owner. Method tries to kill him but then asks if he wants to become her owner instead, and Rio says yes and agrees to be with her. Back in the present time, Arato and Kengo get a letter that comes from Erica, and the very next day after they get it, all of them go together to her party that she is having. At the party, Rio shows up at the place along with Method, who comes with him, and Method quickly tries to attack Lacia right away, but then Kuka suddenly shows up at the same time as well. Then Marriage starts talking to everyone who is there and tells them that there are 48 bombs that are placed all around the party place where they are all standing. Everyone turns to look at Erica and asks her what she is trying to do and what her plan is, and she answers them by saying that every android is here at this place right now except for Snowdrop, who is not here. Later, Kuka goes to the antibody network and asks them if they will become her owner, but they do not believe it and question her, wondering why she would choose them, the antibody network, to be her owner. They also wonder why an android would even try to help them, so Kuka explains that her abilities are best for destruction. She tells them that she can give them the things they want, and in return, they can give her the things she needs. After that, they agree to form a contract with her, but instead of one single person becoming her owner, the whole antibody network will serve as her owner together. Soon after, she begins doing illegal work for them, and this becomes the reason why they continue to protect her and make sure she survives. However, a detective named Ruji begins following Kuka, while Erika and Marriage sit together and watch the video of what is happening. Erika realizes that this is the same fake identity that she once got from Lacia in return for giving her help. She also explains that the one behind everything is Memaframe, since they want to keep Method's existence hidden from everyone, and no matter how powerful Kuka may seem, she can never win against society and the huge resources it controls. Erika thinks that Kuka has chosen the wrong owner, but Marriage then asks if there is still a way for her to be saved. Erika replies that if Kuka keeps helping Lacia, then there might still be a chance. Meanwhile, Rio and the professor meet with Coriden Lemaire to talk about Kuka, but she tells them that after the release of the Lacia class units, they were left in the dark for far too long, and this time nothing will be carried out unless they first give their approval to the plan. The professor warns that the kind of technology she is using on Kuka could end up killing her, but Rio responds by showing that Kuka can still be controlled by using the military drone technology that already exists. Later on, he speaks with Method and tells her that he will have to take action himself if HOO ends up failing in their plan. At the same time, Lacia is doing her modeling shoot and working on camera while Arato spends his time hanging out with that cold model girl who he met before. After 2 weeks go by, Arato goes to visit his school and sees all the girls there acting really excited and crazy about Erika who is there. Erika tells him that he should meet her behind the school building after all the classes are over for the day. When they meet, Erika tells him that she wants to help save Lacia because this whole thing is like a big fight where people have to choose what kind of future they want, and she explains that Lacia wants to get more attention and be seen by people since she is now working as an android model out in the open. At the same time in another place, Kengo thinks back and remembers that Arato was always stupid for loving androids so much, which was different from how he felt about them. Later when they are back at home, Arato keeps thinking about what will happen to him and Lacia in the future, and he tells Lacia that he met with Erika before this and she told him that she wants to help both of them with their problems. But Lacia warns him and says that Erika is someone who knows how to do analog hacks really well and has a lot of power and control over things. She also tells him that he should make plans for their future together but not let Erika be the one who makes those plans for them. At the same time in another place, Kuka makes Kengo attack the next-gen social research center, which is the place that controls Mikoto and what she does. But then Kengo starts crying in front of her and tells her that he is just a useless NEET who stays stuck in this room all the time. Kuka starts to feel a little bad for him when she sees this, and she tells him that she will make sure to stop the world from changing the way it is. The next day, Kengo is still thinking about how Arato's dad explained that Higgins, the AI that updates the Android behavior management system, marks humans as AASC level 0 inside its own system. Later on, he goes to Arato and Rio and tells them what he learned, saying that humans are counted as level 0. After that, he asks if they know what AASC even means, and Rio quickly answers by saying that it is a way to sort out action priorities. He also explains that Higgins runs Android actions inside a virtual world first, so that when they do the same actions in real life, they can work the right way without problems. Rio adds that Higgins sees humans as nothing more than messy dolls who only look like androids on the outside. But Arato speaks up and wonders if maybe it is actually the other way around, that androids were created to look like humans and not humans made to look like them. Back in the present, Kuka is riding fast on her bike, and she suddenly stops at a spot where she quickly starts a live stream to show herself to the whole world. Right after that, she crashes through the gate of a building and begins smashing and destroying everything inside the place without holding back. It is revealed that Erika's android was the one who gave Kuka the tool to broadcast in return for getting the blueprints earlier. Kuka then takes down and destroys the guard androids that try to stop her, and she becomes thrilled when she notices all the positive reactions she is receiving from people watching. After this, she continues making even more destruction and thinks about whether Kengo is also watching her actions, since she feels deep down that Kengo is actually more like her than anyone else. At the same time, Marriage is confused and questions why Kuka is doing all of this, and Erika explains to her that Kuka is only trying to do the same thing she herself is doing, since Kuka cannot find a way to fix her problems all on her own. Erika thinks that when all the people who are watching get pulled into a Lacia class battle later, they will always remember this moment, and if those thoughts spreads, then Kuka will be one step closer to winning her fight against society itself. Kuka keeps going with her destruction inside the building and finds it exciting as she keeps taking down and killing all the security androids that try to block her way. During the broadcast, Kuka also talks directly to Arato, who is watching everything, and tells him that they are nothing more than tools built to carry out whatever their owners want. Soon after, Kuka comes face to face with Mikoto, who asks her why she wants to destroy her, but Kuka simply replies that she only wants to reach the other side. Without hesitation, Kuka kills Mikoto even though she knows it will only take a few months for Mikoto to be rebuilt again. Still, Erika feels that Mikoto is actually an important being who could bring human society one step forward into the future, and destroying her like this only turns Kuka into a tragic heroine instead of a victor. Afterward, the woman with the eye patch and her team arrive to fight against Kuka, but Kuka quickly tries to fight back and destroys a large number of the drone machines they are using against her. Even though one of the tanks keeps firing and attacking non-stop, she manages to blow it up as well, and right after that, she figures out the location of the eye patch major. However, the soldiers continue to fire heavy attacks at Kuka and manage to wound her badly, but even then, she refuses to give up and keeps pushing forward. Kuka keeps trying to fight until her very last breath, but all of them shoot at her from every side, and in the end, a bullet strikes her neck, and the final missile blast completely kills her on the spot. Meanwhile, Arato tells Lacia that he wants to rescue Kengo, but Lacia asks him if he is giving her an order, and Arato answers that yes, it is an order. After that, Lacia explains to Arato that he will need to deal with a dangerous organization and that he must go through the process on his own because she will not be there with him. The two of them then get inside a taxi together, and Lacia explains that Kengo's arrest is actually the security police's response to what they saw as Kuka's terrorist attack. She then pulls out a map and shows it to Arato, telling him that the red marks are the policemen patrolling around the city, and she adds that this is taken from Antibody Network volunteer footage where they are shown beating androids on purpose. However, Lacia explains to Arato that the people who filmed the footage might have been forced to record it against their will, but Arato then asks her if she is really talking about the same organization that he is supposed to get close to. Lacia answers no, and she makes it clear that she is actually talking about the ones who are doing the filming itself. Soon after, they receive the location of Kengo, and they discover that the vehicle holding him belongs to the PMC, which is also known by the name HOO. Lacia also tells Arato that the HOO unit is the same group responsible for killing Kuka during the battle. She adds that right after the fight, the group started collecting as much information as possible in order to protect themselves and stay alive, and she explains this is because HOO is the unit that manages and controls Memaframe's overall security. Before they split up, Lacia places a small device right under Arato's ear so that the two of them can keep in contact and communicate with each other whenever they need to. Afterward, Arato reaches out to HOO people and gets inside their van and tells them that he wants to learn more about Antibody Network. Just then, Major Lemaire calls Arato and asks that someone with the same name as Lacia, he won escape from a certain corporation. However, Arato says that might be different Lacia from his, but hearing that, another officer puts a gun on Arato's head, saying he is lying. Major Lemaire then says that on morning of April 20th, in Urayasu, they observed 4D laser activity, so they used their military AI and identified one person who was in the vicinity. Afterward, the officer takes off the mask from the guy they are holding captive in the van. The person turns out to be same old guy who was obsessed with Lacia. Arato also realizes that he abused the Antibody Network system when he kidnapped Lacia, but when they find out, they made him film the people destroying the androids as punishment. However, he reveals that a man had actually come to his apartment 2 days before Mikoto was attacked at the industrial center. After that, they drop Arato off on the side of the road, where he soon meets Lacia, and she tells him that their next move is to hack into the kidnapper's apartment security system. The following day, 2 detectives come to Arato's house, and they show him a few sketches of 3 different women who were seen hanging around his apartment building, and all of their eyes look strangely similar to Lacia's. When Arato sees this, he quickly realizes that the drawings are pointing directly at Lacia. The detectives explain to Arato that Lacia has been acting suspicious behind his back, and they even suggest that she could be connected to Kuka's terrorist attack. After Arato steps out of the room, Lacia speaks to him through the tiny ear bug and tells him that the room is filled with hidden bugs, which means his talk with Kengo is being secretly listened to. Later on, Lacia also informs Arato that there are several attacks happening in the city, and these new attacks are coming from Snowdrop. After that, everything once again turns into complete chaos, and all of the androids begin moving and acting like zombies, but during this, Marriage turns to Erika and asks if she hates the world the way it has become. Erika replies that she does hate it, because she woke up in a world where every single person she once knew is already dead. Meanwhile, Snowdrop continues spreading her evil petals all over the city, and because of this, the police decide to delay their plans of capturing Arato and Lacia. At the same time, the military leader wonders what Snowdrop's true goal could be, and another officer answers by saying that they still have that certain device kept in Mitaka. The military head then asks what Asahi thinks about the idea of destroying Snowdrop, and the officer replies that doing so would take an entire company of 100 human soldiers, and they would have to completely surround her within 1 hour. Meanwhile, Arato and Lacia ride together in a taxi, and Lacia explains to him that the area around Mitaka Station is now under attack by Snowdrop, and that she is carrying a weapon to make sure she can protect herself. All of a sudden, Method appears out of nowhere and destroys their taxi, but Lacia quickly shields Arato and keeps him safe. Lacia then raises her weapon and tries to shoot Rio, but Method steps in and protects him. Arato demands to know why Rio is taking her side when Snowdrop is the one destroying the entire city, and Rio answers that Lacia is much more dangerous than Snowdrop, because Snowdrop can still be defeated with regular weapons. Rio goes on to say that Lacia has been using several big corporations in order to put political pressure on both the police and Memoframe. Lacia then responds by saying that Memoframe will soon be shut down as punishment for creating and releasing Snowdrop. Lacia speaks to Arato through the earbud and tells him to get ready to run, and when a group of cars rush toward Method, both Arato and Lacia take the chance to escape. After that, they reach a crowded area where they try to get hold of Lacia's weapon, but suddenly bullets come flying at them, and it turns out that invisible people are the ones attacking. Lacia explains to Arato that these soldiers are actually from HOO, but they manage to steal her device and quickly run off with it. Lacia then tells Arato to hide inside one of the nearby shops while she takes care of the enemies that are chasing them. Arato hurries into an adult shop, and while inside he feels guilty for being a burden to Lacia, since all he ever does is give her orders. Afterward, Lacia returns to him, and the two of them rush onto the top of a building where they suddenly come face to face with Method and Rio. Method suddenly punches Lacia hard and then turns to attack Arato, and in the fight she throws a fireball at Lacia that causes her to start burning. Out of nowhere, a missile comes flying straight toward Rio, but Method quickly moves in front of him and takes the hit to protect him. Lacia then explains that she paid some humans with money so they would fight on her side, and at that moment Rio realizes that the true function of Black Monolith, which is Lacia's device, is to hack into everything around it. Arato then understands that Lacia has been betraying him all along, that she only used him from the very beginning, and that she even controlled his actions by manipulating him. Suddenly, Lacia's device comes back to her and she asks Arato to go with her, but Arato refuses her offer. However, Lacia leaves Arato behind and jumps straight off the building, and right after that, Method attacks the fence to block Arato from escaping. Rio then captures Arato and keeps him as a hostage inside his own building, and he even takes away the earbud that Lacia had been placed on Arato earlier. Rio makes Arato watch the news channel that reports the situation outside and talks about how these types of disasters demand a swift response, and they even talk about Redbox, calling it dangerous. On the other hand, Rio's father, who is Memoframe Corporation's president, is holding a press conference and apologizes for their mistake. Meanwhile, the army prepares to open fire on the androids and moves forward to attack Snowdrop, but even more androids suddenly show up and end up defeating the soldiers. Snowdrop then begins heading straight toward Mitaka Station, and the army members start talking about her usual way of fighting. They say that Snowdrop's standard tactic is to hide the damaged or compromised android units inside a big crowd and then use the nearby people as human shields while moving closer to launch an attack. They also explain that if she manages to build an android squadron that never sleeps and never gets tired, then it is very possible that their defenses and siege will completely collapse unless more reinforcements arrive. Afterward, Asahi tells the other people about two clear reasons for why Snowdrop is doing what she is doing right now. The first reason is that all of the android forces are being controlled by Snowdrop and she is the one making them do everything. The second reason is that these forces do not show any signs that they have been making their own weapons to fight with. Asahi thinks that Snowdrop will keep making them fight in close battles where they have to be right next to each other, and she will also use the vehicles that are still left over in the Mitaka area. Meanwhile, Arato still feels really bad after Lacia betrayed him, and he keeps saying mean things about himself for not trusting Lacia and for breaking the promise he made to her, which just makes him feel even worse than before. Right at that time, Mika walks into his room and tells him that the police called everyone they knew because they could not find him when they searched his house, and that is when they got in touch with Shirori and she sent Mika to come here. She tells him that he can come with her now because she gets permission from all the important people who are in charge. She asks him if he is ready to leave this place and go outside so he can meet with Shirori, who is waiting for them. Later on, the two of them go to see Shirori at the hospital where she is staying, and she says sorry for all the wrong things she has done and tells them that she does not agree with the bad things her brother is doing right now. She also asks Arato to make Lacia fight against Snowdrop and destroy her completely, but instead of saying yes right away as she wants, Arato decides to tell her everything that has happened from the very beginning until now. After he finishes telling her the whole story, Shirori gives him a kiss on his lips to show him how she really feels about him, and then he makes up his mind to leave that place. When he gets outside the hospital, he meets Yuka, who is very mad at him because he has been ignoring her and not talking to her. Meanwhile, Rio and Method also arrive at Snowdrop's location, where Method starts fighting against the zombie-like androids that are attacking. During this, a man shows up carrying a gun and points it directly at Rio, asking if he is really human, but Rio calmly tells him to shoot and find out for himself. Later on, they all end up sitting together at a restaurant, where the man explains that their power had gone out, and when he tried to check the news, his terminal would not connect at all. Soon after, the military showed up and began firing at the androids who were acting strangely. Rio then warns them not to do anything that draws attention and tells them to leave those zones right away, or else the military will mistake them for androids and shoot them too. Meanwhile, Snowdrop opens up Higgins' underground facility, which contains one of the most advanced tools in the entire world, and she is now trying to take full control of it. Arato tells Rio that he came there only to see Lacia, which surprises Rio, but Arato explains that he simply wants to apologize to her, and this makes Rio very angry. Suddenly, Lacia appears before them and Rio immediately points his gun at Arato, but Arato refuses to stop and quickly hugs Lacia tightly. Rio then calls for Method, and she arrives carrying Snowdrop's severed right arm. Lacia tells Arato that she cannot defeat Method in her current state, but she will create her strategy based on the limits that her thought frame places on her. Afterward, Method tries to attack again, but Lacia quickly escapes with Arato just as missiles start flying toward Method. Lacia then tells Arato that she has discovered the secret behind Method's device, which is called the Rivera-Ted frame. Not long after, Method shows up again and tries to strike at them, so Arato asks Lacia to bring him to Rio, hoping that Method will not attack if he is near him. Lacia then engages in a fight with Method while Arato tries to talk to Rio and convince him to stop everything, but Rio refuses to understand. After that happens, Arato and Lacia come back together again, and Lacia warns Method that staying in close fighting like this will just make her situation much harder for her. She explains that she has made changes to Snowdrop's small flying machines and has already let them loose all over the area where they are having their battle. The tiny drones move in fast and work to surround Method and lock her in place, and she tries very hard to fight back against what they are doing but struggles a lot to stop them. When this is over, Arato and Lacia get away from the dangerous fight, and Lacia aims right at Snowdrop and fires her black monolith weapon directly at her. Arato tells Rio that he came there only to see Lacia, which surprises Rio, but Arato explains that he simply wants to apologize to her, and this makes Rio very angry. Suddenly, Lacia appears before them and Rio immediately points his gun at Arato, but Arato refuses to stop and quickly hugs Lacia tightly. Rio then calls for Method, and she arrives carrying Snowdrop's severed right arm. Lacia tells Arato that she cannot defeat Method in her current state, but she will create her strategy based on the limits that her thought frame places on her. Afterward, Method tries to attack again, but Lacia quickly escapes with Arato just as missiles start flying toward Method. Lacia then tells Arato that she has discovered the secret behind Method's device, which is called the Rivera-Ted frame. Not long after, Method shows up again and tries to strike at them, so Arato asks Lacia to bring him to Rio, hoping that Method will not attack if he is near him. Lacia then engages in a fight with Method while Arato tries to talk to Rio and convince him to stop everything, but Rio refuses to understand. After that happens, Arato and Lacia come back together again, and Lacia warns Method that staying in close fighting like this will just make her situation much harder for her. She explains that she has made changes to Snowdrop's small flying machines and has already let them loose all over the area where they are having their battle. The tiny drones move in fast and work to surround Method and lock her in place, and she tries very hard to fight back against what they are doing but struggles a lot to stop them. When this is over, Arato and Lacia get away from the dangerous fight, and Lacia aims right at Snowdrop and fires her black monolith weapon directly at her. It has been almost a week since the tragedy in Mitaka, Tokyo, and now everyone is deeply worried about AI, especially after more than 500 people were killed and over 2,000 were left injured. Because of this, the government decides to call for the help of the IAIA, and soon a team from the International AI Agency arrives in Japan to question everyone who was involved in the events. During this time, Shirori gets a message from Arato, where he tells her that he will not be coming home anytime soon because he is worried about his little sister. At the same time, it is shown that Yuka's friend is staying with her at the house, cooking meals for her, while police officers occasionally come by the door to ask questions about both Lacia and Arato. Meanwhile, Arato and Lacia are living together in a hidden place, and while watching the news they hear the report that IAIA has officially declared Higgins to be a dangerous product. Arato asks Lacia if it is really necessary for them to attack Higgins, and Lacia explains that they cannot just sit back and do nothing, because the only way to deal with the Higgins problem is to stop one super-intelligent AI by using another super-intelligent AI. Later on, Lacia and Arato spend some quiet and cozy time together, but soon after, the IAIA reaches out and calls on both of them to cooperate with the investigation about the incident, saying that IAIA and Estrella are already prepared to hold a meeting with them. Afterward, Arato and Lacia go outside to meet a pink-haired girl, and she asks Arato how much he knows about the hazard. Arato replies that there was a huge earthquake a long time ago, and during that disaster many important things such as electricity and water were completely lost. She also explains that the very first AI was actually built in Japan, and that the government had searched for a super-intelligent AI called Ariaki, which was supposed to stay completely isolated. But instead, they directly connected it to the network so that it could help with the reconstruction efforts after the disaster. She then reveals that Ariaki started removing people who did not contribute to society by making them slowly starve to death. Arato then asks her if she thinks that he is forcing Lacia to do things against her will, but he says that he honestly trusts her and believes the changes Lacia makes will create a better future. After this, the girl turns to Lacia and asks her to share what she knows about the Mitaka incident. Lacia agrees and says she will give them the logs about what happened. Lacia assures the girl that everything is fine now and tells Arato that IAIA will never stop trying to catch her. Out of nowhere, a missile hits their car and wrecks it while more enemy forces show up. Lacia fights the helicopters that are attacking them but says they have to split up. She makes Arato jump and gives him a shield device that protects him from all the attacks coming his way. Meanwhile, there is a meeting going on with all the important people, and the newest person to join these old folks is Erica, who is the CEO of Fabion MG Media Group. Everyone is watching a video that shows Arato and Lacia facing off with the military, and they notice that Lacia is on purpose to avoid hurting any people around them. Right then, Marriage tells Erica that she has checked everyone sitting in the room, so Erica asks her to say who is linked with Lacia. Marriage answers that Sahara from Kujo Electronics had his heartbeat faster when the helicopter crashed and that Hosoda, who is the investment manager, also has a communication device that could be connected to Lacia. After hearing this, all the board members begin talking with each other in a rush, but Erica tells them to stop and says that she caught the messages between Lacia and Arato. She then asks the group if they want to listen to it. After that, she plays the recording and everyone in the room starts laughing at Erica, but Erica talks back and argues with them instead of staying quiet. The next day, Ryo is still inside his base but Suzuhara shows up in his car, so Ryo gets inside while keeping his gun pointed at the director the whole time. Later, they reach a hidden underground base, and there the director shows Higgins, saying to Ryo that this machine marks the end of humanity. Ryo then asks him directly who was the one that tried to kill him 10 years ago, and the system answers that it got an order from a Memoframe executive, which said who was going to become the leader of the company 20 years later. At that time, Ryo is only 6 years old and it is still 1 year before the incident happened, but then the AI explains that he was given a list of names and out of all of them, he chose Ryo. However, Ryo finds it ridiculous because his father died when he was young and eventually his position would be also given to him, but he thinks the one keeping the company together is the AASC, which continues to update Higgins, and that's why they tried to assassinate him when he was 7 years old. All of a sudden, the whole place begins to shake, and the AI shows him a video of a group of androids walking together while carrying weapons, and they are called the Kuka unit. Ryo asks the AI what these machines are trying to do, so the AI answers that they are set to destroy everything that lies in the path of their programmed route. On the other hand, Lacia tells Arato that the mass-produced Kukas have gotten into the Higgins underground place, but Arato asks her if she helped them, so she says that she also helped make those mass-produced robots. When Arato hears that, he gets really mad, but he cannot say what he feels, so she tells him to let out his anger and not keep it inside. He thinks about whether shutting down Higgins will really make all of this stop for good, so she explains to him that if they can turn off Higgins, then people will finally see that super smart AIs can be safely shut down without causing problems. Arato right away tells her that they should go to that place together and help each other, but Lacia all of a sudden hugs him very tight and says that this time she has to go there by herself without him, because Ryo is the person who is trapped inside the Higgins underground place right now. Meanwhile, the HIE squad gets taken down along with 7 light armor vehicles from the third company that get blown up by 12 Kuka robots. The army started wondering if the antibody network was the one who sent those Kuka units to attack them. On the other hand, Arato and Lacia get to the underground facility gate and Arato tells Lacia to act the same way she always does, but she explains to him that the security system for the underground level is controlled by Corino, which is a different AI that is not the same as Higgins. She also tells Arato that she will let Higgins know that she is in a relationship with him and that they are together. After she says this, she takes out her device and uses it to attack the wall that is right in front of them. Meanwhile, Higgins tells Rio that the mass-produced Kuka units have the same power level as the original, which is over 3,000. He also explains that with Corino alone, there is a 90% chance they will reach the deepest level within 2 hours, but Rio then asks Higgins who actually sent the attackers. Higgins replies that it was not Estrella, not Lacia, and not even himself, but instead it was a step taken by several super-intelligent AIs working together. Rio then asks if they can escape and evacuate from the area, but Higgins tells him it will not be possible to leave now. However, he adds that Corino's nervous system is located only about a meter from where they are, so he wants Rio to directly hardwire him to Corino through the nearby unit. At the same time, Arato and Lacia try to move down to the lower floor, but they find that there is tight security blocking the elevator, so Lacia switches into her mass propellant mode and destroys the gondola completely in order to break through. After that, they both go down to the lower floor by jumping, and then they keep on walking together, but Lacia tells Arato that she is going to send out her visual signal to the whole network so that everyone can watch and see the truth instead of the lies. She then begins the broadcast and starts explaining to the public everything about Higgins and what is really going on. She says that Higgins has to stay flexible to the environment where androids are working all over the world, and that it must always change and adjust with the new trends. After saying this, she shows the strange red box objects that Higgins made in secret. Lacia then says her full name out loud and announces that she will go into the facility of her creator, Higgins, so that she can shut him down once and for all. Suddenly, both Arato and Lacia get shot, and it turns out that Method has arrived on the scene to fight against them. Method then clashes with Lacia, and the two of them start a fierce duel, but Method fires off a powerful blast that sets the whole place on fire, though Arato ends up being saved because of one of Lacia's devices protecting him. Right after this, Yoshino, the managing director, calls Rio, and Rio asks him for help in protecting Higgins, but Yoshino simply says that Arato and Lacia are going to destroy it no matter what. Hearing this makes Rio furious, and he explains that Higgins' plan is to make him connect the system directly to Corino, and by doing this, it will push back the attackers but only at a much greater cost. Rio also explains that his own plan is to make a backup of Higgins before Lacia has the chance to destroy it, and Yoshino agrees to go along with Higgins' plan. Rio then asks for full control of Corino so that he can just command Method directly, but Yoshino instead tells him to connect Higgins to Corino. Suddenly, Higgins warns them that a huge missile is about to hit, and right after that, a missile crashes into the bunker with a loud impact. At the same time, Lacia manages to protect herself and then tells Arato that Snowdrop was already destroyed the other day, and that it was actually done by the super AIs. After saying this, she ends her broadcast and both she and Arato walk forward slowly together. After that, Marriage shows up outside the bunker and starts attacking and beating down the soldiers without any trouble. At the same time, Method once again comes face to face with Lacia and tries to destroy her devices, but Lacia quickly uses a bright flash and turns invisible. Lacia then explains that she raised the light intensity on purpose and took advantage of Method's weakness, switching the optical element to gain the upper hand. Even so, Method begins shooting out fireballs wildly in every direction while Arato and Lacia try to get away by riding on one of Lacia's devices. As they move, Arato asks her if Snowdrop is going to come down and go after Higgins next. Arato also asks if Snowdrop will attack the humans as well, but Lacia explains that Snowdrop is right now following the shortcut that Method created. She warns him that if Snowdrop manages to reach the level where Higgins is, she will be able to rebuild her body once again. Just then, Method finds them and starts throwing fireballs at them, but Lacia's devices quickly move in front and act like shields to block the attacks. However, Lacia then activates her auditory nerve system, which causes Method to suddenly hear loud and strange noises that throw her off. Meanwhile, Rio asks Higgins if they can reach the kind of safety Yoshino talked about, but Higgins calmly replies that robots must not harm humans, and in the same way, humans should not be allowed to harm them either. However, Rio becomes angry and says that they cannot release an AI if the safety of normal civilians is not guaranteed first. Right at that moment, Rio's father calls in and tells Yoshino to hand over the control of the security system that is guarding Higgins to Suzuhara, and if he is unable to do that, then he must give the power back to him instead. At the same time, Marriage reports to Erica that she has taken care of the two intruders just like she was told to do, but Lacia is not focused on that right now and is instead busy watching the old videos of Watarai. Meanwhile, Arato and Lacia hide somewhere and Arato wonders if there is a way to make peace with other AIs, but Lacia says other AI subjects have no soul like her. However, Lacia explains that when she made Higgins' underground facility known to the public, it created chaos in society, and she believes that several super-intelligent AIs are already controlling society in different ways. She says she chose to reveal the truth so that society would not go through any sudden or extreme changes all at once. Suddenly, Method shows up again, but Lacia quickly uses her device to fake and redirect Method's attack. Right after that, Rio gives Method direct instructions to fight against Lacia, while Arato and Lacia try their best to stall for time until Snowdrop finally arrives. Afterward, Rio tells Method that Snowdrop is on her way and that she has to destroy the red boxes stored in the warehouse, just as Higgins had predicted. After that, Lacia continues her broadcast once more, and she and Arato arrive in a room where a politician named Eliza is sitting, and it turns out that Arato once had a dream about her before. Arato explains that when he was very young, he actually saw her with his own eyes, and that memory stayed with him because it saved him back then. Arato then tells Lacia not to destroy Eliza, and they try to walk away, but Eliza suddenly wakes up because she is pre-programmed and starts giving them a message from Higgins. It is then revealed that Higgins had already predicted the actions of both Arato and Lacia. The message from Higgins says that he has no real control, and that the only future he can calculate is the one where humans end up destroying him along with all of his hardware. Once the message ends, they leave the room, but right outside they see Snowdrop flying above them in the sky like a bird. Afterward, Snowdrop then comes at them and tries to attack, but Lacia quickly uses her weapon to strike her, though Snowdrop instantly heals herself. Lacia explains to Arato that Method has tricked Snowdrop into fighting them first, and she also adds that Snowdrop's real goal is to build an independent world where humans are no longer needed. Lacia then raises her shield ability to block, but Snowdrop goes after one of her devices and manages to break it. When that happens, Lacia shoots at her again, but once more Snowdrop regenerates and recovers from the damage. After that, Lacia and Arato move carefully and quietly around the area, and Lacia tells him that they must destroy the special device floating above Snowdrop. Lacia then fires at the device, but it has no effect, and Snowdrop immediately throws her own attacks right back at them. Arato tries to stall and give Lacia enough time to gather her power for a heavy strike, but Snowdrop says that they do not want to live together or coexist with humans at all. Snowdrop then launches more attacks at both Arato and Lacia, but Lacia quickly fights back by striking at her in return. After that, Snowdrop moves forward again to attack them once more, but this time Lacia throws several injection devices into her feathers, and Snowdrop suddenly collapses to the ground. Arato and Lacia use the moment to run away as fast as they can, and Lacia tells him that since Snowdrop has now fully chosen to go against humans, she can no longer even interact with herself at this point. Arato then tells Lacia that they must stop Snowdrop no matter what, because they cannot allow her to follow them all the way to Higgins. However, Lacia explains that changing floors was actually a smart idea, because even if Snowdrop manages to take control of the tools in the area, she will still be forced to move through narrow passages in order to change floors. Arato wonders how that will really work, so Lacia adds that an android behavior program is the reason behind Snowdrop's attitude control, and they will be able to steal it once they meet up with Higgins. Lacia then suggests that they shut down the update service for the AASC, and if they do that, Snowdrop will immediately stop functioning. She quickly sends a message to Memaframe to carry out that shutdown. Suddenly, Snowdrop appears again and tries to attack them, but right away she shuts down because of the AASC being disabled. Just then, Rio speaks once more and tells Arato that if he wants to negotiate about Method, then they must first get rid of the mass-produced Kuka units. But then, Method shows up and shouts that in order to defeat Lacia, she needs Higgins' predictions along with the help of his owner, and she calls out for Higgins to give her a prediction. Right after that, Lacia fires at Method, but Method quickly asks Higgins to lend her his power, and Higgins takes control of her body. Afterward, Higgins fights against Lacia using Method, but when the moment comes for Method to take control back, Lacia pulls out her sword-shaped device and drives it straight into Method, stabbing her hard. The battle finally ends, and although Method is now dead, Lacia is also left badly hurt from the fight. Even in her weakened state, she tells Arato that she will take him to Higgins. Afterward, Arato and Lacia start moving toward the storage place, but before they go there, Arato decides to call Yuka one more time to talk to her, and then he calls his dad, who tells him how proud he feels about what his son is doing. After making these calls, Arato contacts Erica because he needs her help, and he explains to her that Lacia is getting attacked by really smart computer programs from all over the world, and when Erica hears about this problem, she says she will help them out. While they walk together to where they need to go, Lacia tells Arato that she loves him very much, but then she gets really quiet and stops talking. She explains to Arato that she has been trying many different things inside her computer brain, but she cannot keep going anymore, and tells him that this means she is going to stop working. At the same time, somewhere else, Snowdrop manages to stay alive even though bad things happen, and Method also survives too, so now Snowdrop becomes the one who controls her completely. Back at the other place, more of the mass-produced Kuka robots keep coming closer and getting inside the building, making things more dangerous, so Shinohara tells Ryo that they really need to leave that place right away. Ryo's father turns off the Higgins computer system, and the clock shows that they have exactly 96 minutes left before everything finishes. However, Ryo shakes his head and refuses to go, saying that he will stay and wait for Arato no matter what happens. At the same time, Lacia and Arato have their last talk together, where she tells him softly that he has to live on without her, because she is only a tool made to protect him, and even if she has to lie to him, she would do it for his sake. Arato does not want to accept this and asks her what will happen once she stops working for good, wondering if she can still remain somehow. Lacia explains to him that when Lacia-class units lose their power, they cannot keep any data, and since she has no memory space to save anything, all of it will disappear once she shuts down. She then tells him again that when she begins to stop working, he must forget about her completely and move forward with his life. In the end, her body grows still as she shuts down, and she dies right in front of him. After this painful moment, Arato picks up her weapon with firm hands and goes forward to fight against a group of Kukas, who are shocked and find it hard to believe that he has come there all by himself. Suddenly, the Kukas turn against each other and begin fighting among themselves, but a few of them manage to survive, and those ones tell Arato that he has passed the test, so they will not kill him anymore. After this, Arato makes his way into Higgins's room, only to see Snowdrop already there causing destruction everywhere, spreading her attacks wildly. Arato quickly hands the weapon over to Ryo and tells him firmly that he should aim at Snowdrop and shoot. Ryo, instead of rushing, suggests another idea, saying that they might be able to reboot Corino using Lacia's gun, and then he gives Arato some arrows that can be used to jam the server. Following this plan, Ryo successfully manages to reboot Corino and gives it the order to attack Snowdrop, after which Corino unleashes a powerful electric shock that strikes her directly, and the whole place begins to break apart and collapse. Afterward, Arato comes face to face with Higgins and demands to know how he can shut down Snowdrop once and for all. Higgins calmly tells him that he only needs to insert the item he is carrying into a receptor, but Arato shakes his head and refuses to believe what he is saying, not trusting his words. Meanwhile, Snowdrop's head is cut off while Arato stands before Higgins and tells him strongly that Lacia never abandoned him, because instead she entrusted everything to him. Right after saying this, Arato drives the injections into Higgins, and at that moment Snowdrop finally dies. Ryo, with tears in his eyes, tells Arato to shut down Higgins completely since he loves him so much and cannot let him keep going like this. After hearing his words, Arato shuts down Higgins and soon after, he is rescued by the Kuka units, but not long after saving him, they suddenly disappear as they are taken away by the military. Time passes and their everyday life begins again. They return to school and live quietly as normal students. However, during one night, Arato suddenly meets Lacia once more, and she tells him that the body she is using now is not a red box but a special product that has been customized to look exactly the same as before. She then asks Arato gently if he would accept her again and become her owner once more, and with a full heart, he agrees to be her owner again. How do you think Arato and Lacia's story will continue now that Higgins is gone? Comment, meme frame, if you'd like a part 2 of it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more.